My mother sacrificed her own life to secure my entry into their prestigious world. Before she took her last breath, she forced my biological father, a man who commanded an empire worth hundreds of millions, to acknowledge my very existence. The moment I first stepped into the Sterling family home, my older sister, Eleanor, stood there, a wine glass lightly swaying in her hand. Her eyes, devoid of any warmth, swept over me. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "No matter where you came from now on, you'll know your place." My older brother, Arthur, extinguished his cigar. His deep-set eyes fixed on me for a chilling moment before he turned away, his voice a low, undecipherable rumble. "You've entered the Sterling house. You will abide by the Sterling family rules. Remember that." I understood, clearly, that they didn't like me. I had never harbored any desire to be close to them, either. So I spent my days trying to stay out of their sight, hoping I wouldn't become an eyesore in that imposing, unfamiliar house. Until that day. The school queen, without a shred of hesitation, poured an entire bottle of ink into my glass of water, then forced me to drink it down in front of everyone. Eleanor's slap echoed sharply through the room, landing squarely on the girl's face. Arthur stood by, his voice cold and unwavering as he ordered the girl to chug the rest of the inky water. That was the moment I truly understood the Sterling family rules. They protected their own. The second day after my mother jumped to her death, a middle-aged man in a sleek, luxury car arrived to find me. He said I was a Sterling, and he was here to take me home. I quietly observed him, noting that none of his features resembled mine in the slightest. I asked him directly, "Are you my biological father?" The man chuckled faintly. "No, Miss Willow. My name is Jenkins. You can call me Mr. Jenkins." His words sounded respectful enough, yet his eyes held more disdain for me than they would for a beggar on the street. I didn't let it bother me, though a quiet, aching regret simmered within. I wouldn't get to see for myself what the man my mother loved enough to sacrifice her life for actually looked like. The night before she jumped, my mother had held me, weeping for what felt like an eternity. She swore she wasn't the other woman. She was his first love. She was the one who had been wronged. He had abandoned us, her and me, for his career, then gone on to marry a woman from a powerful, influential family. Her voice trembling, she'd asked me, "Willow, why is it that the other woman has been dead for 3 years, and he still won't marry me?" I pressed my lips together, unsure how to respond. She stroked my cheek, her gaze piercing, yet deep in her eyes, I saw a profound longing for another man. "My sweet Willow, you must be good. You must listen. You must try hard. You must make him see you in a new light, understand?" Those were the last words she ever spoke to me. I didn't truly know if she loved me. Maybe she did, or perhaps not to that extent. Thinking about it now, I no longer wanted to pick it apart. It simply didn't matter anymore. From now on, I could only figure out how to live well on my own. I shook my head, dragging my thoughts back to the present. "It's fine," I told myself. "Let's go." Without looking back, I climbed into the Maybach, a car I'd never even dared to dream of before. My home had been truly remote, isolated. So far, in fact, that throughout the entire drive, Mr. Jenkins continuously grumbled and complained, every word laced with contempt, treating me like nothing more than an annoying burden. "I really don't understand what the boss is thinking," he muttered under his breath. "Couldn't he just give her some money and send her away? Why bring her home?" I pretended not to hear, resting my head against the car window, quietly watching the desolate countryside transform into the glittering lights of the city. It was, indeed, beautiful. The car slowly pulled up in front of a sprawling mansion. Mr. Jenkins retrieved my meager luggage from the trunk, his voice flat. "All right, you can go in yourself. I have other things to do. No need to walk you in." Before I could even respond, the car was already pulling away. I stood by the imposing gate, pulling my suitcase, staring into the mansion. The massive front door stood wide open, as if someone was already waiting. The very first moment I stepped inside the Sterling home, I saw a young man and woman descending the grand spiral staircase. They looked like meticulously sculpted works of art, their beauty and aura far surpassing that of ordinary people. I recognized them immediately, their faces often graced the society pages. The Sterling siblings were known for their striking good looks and innate, extraordinary talents. Eleanor Sterling was a born artistic genius. A painting she'd done at the age of 11 had been selected for exhibition at a world-renowned art show. Her brother, Arthur Sterling, was fluent in 7 languages and had won countless awards from a young age. Compared to them, I was nothing more than a country bumpkin with nothing to my name. Guided by the principle that one must bow when under someone else's roof, I proactively offered a smile and a greeting. "Hello, Eleanor." "Hello, Arthur. I'm Willow Song." It was as if they only just then noticed my presence. Both simultaneously assessed me from head to toe. Eleanor, still holding her wine glass, swirled the liquid idly. Her cold gaze swept over me. "No matter where you came from now on, you'll know your place." Arthur extinguished his cigar, his voice dropping to a low, emotionless tone. "You've entered this house, you will follow the Sterling family rules. Remember that." I lowered my posture, obediently nodding. "Yes, I understand." I knew they wouldn't like me. So, for the entire week that followed, I quietly observed their habits, trying my best to avoid doing anything that might displease them, and minimizing my presence in front of them as much as possible. Eleanor drank a glass of wine every night. In the mornings, she was notoriously difficult to wake, and Arthur often had to knock on her door repeatedly before she would finally get out of bed for school. A few days prior, their father had called her, arranging a meeting with the son of some powerful tycoon. She'd immediately thrown her phone aside, and the atmosphere in the house had grown thick with tension. I was truly terrified of annoying her, especially after what had happened yesterday. Mr. Jenkins had brought 2 identical dresses, giving one to Eleanor and one to me. Unaware of the implications, I had simply put mine on. When Eleanor saw the dress, she scowled. She returned to her room, immediately changed into a different outfit, then hurled the dress that matched mine directly at Mr. Jenkins' face. "If I ever see this happen again, you'll regret it." Arthur's temper was slightly more stable than hers, but only just. For instance, this morning, Mr. Jenkins had claimed he was busy and couldn't drive me to school privately. He also had to pick up our father, who was returning from a business trip, so he'd asked Arthur to take me along since it was on his way. Arthur, who was eating breakfast, immediately erupted in anger. He slammed his fork and knife onto the table, then stood up and left the house without a single word. I, hiding in the kitchen, eating noodles, froze. Outside, an eerie silence fell. After a very long moment, I heard Eleanor's voice ring out. 3 minutes. If you're late to the car, you're not going. Though my stomach was far from full, I quickly put down my bowl. Today was my first day of school, and I couldn't be late. So, regretfully, I set the bowl aside, wiped my mouth, and rushed out after her. But quickly, I found myself flustered, unsure where to sit. I'd assumed Eleanor would take the passenger seat, allowing me to be a ghost in the back. But she didn't. She was sitting in the back, right next to the outer door. If I opened the back door to get in, I would definitely have to ask her to move inwards. And if I opened the passenger door, there was a 99.99% chance Arthur would glare at me and tell me to get out. So, after careful consideration, I decisively said, "Arthur, would you mind opening the trunk for me? I can ride back there." Caw, caw, I heard 2 crows overhead, then a sudden snort. Eleanor burst out laughing, a clear, pleasant sound that made my face flush crimson. I couldn't help but steal a glance at her, but she was already looking down at her phone, her expression as indifferent as usual, as if her laughter had been a figment of my imagination. I scratched my head. Arthur was furious. He slammed on the car horn, his voice gruff. "Get in the car. Just sit somewhere." "Yes, sir." Just then, the back door opened. Eleanor had moved inward on her own. I quickly slid in. Thank you, Eleanor. As expected, she pretended not to hear me. I didn't mind, just lowered my head and fumbled with the seatbelt. This was my first time wearing a seatbelt, and I momentarily had no idea how to fasten it. Before I could figure it out, Arthur slammed his foot on the accelerator. The sudden lurch sent my forehead crashing directly into the back of the front seat. A distinct thud echoed in the enclosed space. Eleanor sighed softly. Even though she was engrossed in her phone, she still reached over and fastened my seatbelt for me. Such a nuisance. I'm sorry, Eleanor, I said earnestly. Arthur clicked his tongue. Is it buckled? Don't let her mess up my car. Yes, Eleanor replied curtly, then put her headphones back on. To minimize my presence, I even quieted my breathing. Finally, that suffocating journey came to an end. As the car neared the school gates, I softly asked to be dropped off early. For no other reason than I feared embarrassing them. The truth proved my intuition correct. Arthur didn't ask another question. He stopped the car, and then immediately sped away. Good, I thought. Finally, I can breathe. I pulled out a stolen hard-boiled egg from the kitchen, still hidden in my jacket pocket, peeled it, and took a bite. The soft yolk was unexpectedly delicious. It was hard to imagine that one day I would actually step into this elite academy, where even the floor tiles seemed encrusted with diamonds. I spun around like a camera, curiously taking in everything. Once I'd seen enough, I hurried towards my classroom. After all, I was a transfer student. I couldn't avoid standing up and introducing myself. I had barely finished saying my name, Willow Song, when someone from below piped up. You're a Sterling, too? Are you related to Eleanor and Arthur Sterling? Instinctively, I glanced at them. But Eleanor was holding a small mirror, examining her reflection. Arthur was staring straight out the window, his expression aloof. No one seemed to care about what was happening with me. So, I calmly denied it. No, it's just a coincidence of names. After my introduction, the teacher pointed to an empty seat. I looked at the vacant chair to Arthur's right and fell into a momentary silence. Fine, I thought. Stubbornly, I walked towards it, already imagining the scene when we got home. How furious he would be. I took a deep breath, sat down, subtly shifted my chair outward, and then took out my textbooks. I tried to pretend nothing had happened and focus on studying, but something even more despairing immediately became apparent. The teacher at this elite academy was lecturing in 3 languages, all intertwined. Before, I had thought my English skills in my hometown were excellent. But now, I realized I was practically illiterate. The entire class understood French, only I didn't. If it weren't for being brought into this wealthy family, the gap between these young masters and ladies and me would be so deep it would take centuries to bridge. Just then, Arthur tossed a pair of smart glasses towards me. They're just leftovers. You can have them. My intuition screamed that this was exactly what I needed. Without hesitation, I put them on. The sight before me stunned me. The teacher's words instantly appeared as clear subtitles on the lenses. Open book, Dang Dyke Fan 2/4, 2502. I wrote a small note. Thank you, it read. Then I subtly slid it over. Ethan glanced down at it, his eyes narrowed, then he nudged the paper back with his elbow, not saying a word. After classes, everyone gradually filtered out, heading to recess or home. Soon, I was the only one left in the room. I pulled out my phone and immediately dove into my French studies. That's when a girl approached my desk, tapping lightly on it with her finger. Hi, Sarah. Can we be friends? I knew this girl. She was Brittany, the undisputed queen bee, acknowledged by everyone in school. When I first stepped into this class, I'd even overheard snippets of conversations comparing her and Chloe, wondering who was prettier. Most agreed that Chloe was too cold, while Brittany had a sweeter, more approachable beauty. But I didn't agree. In my heart, Chloe was far more beautiful than her. From that day on, Brittany, the campus darling, sought me out daily. Even when I tried to hang out with her, I began to suspect Ethan didn't want me to have friends. Because every single time Brittany came near me, he would slam a French textbook down in front of me. "Finish these 2 pages, then you can leave." The worst part was, I couldn't refuse. After all, it had been hard enough to get him to teach me French in the first place. Actually, I had initially planned to ask Chloe if she could recommend a good French tutor. At the time, she was idly playing with her nails, making a casual phone call. The very next second, Ethan appeared at the doorway of the room. "What do you want with me?" he asked. Chloe merely glanced at me. "Teach her French." My eyes immediately lit up. I hugged my sister's arm, not thinking twice, rubbing my cheek against her in an attempt to butter her up. "Sis, you're the best. You're truly the light of my life." Chloe's ears turned a faint red. She cleared her throat, pretending to be aloof, and gently pushed me away, then turned to Ethan and ordered, "Hurry up. Go teach her, now." Ethan remained silent, his eyebrow twitching, as if he was wrestling with some internal conflict. I seized the opportunity to guilt trip him. "Just consider it doing a good deed for the day, please help me, I'm begging you." He gritted his teeth, but in the end, he relented. "It's just, perhaps I truly had no talent for French." I often drove him half to death with my mistakes. He would be so furious he'd tap the rolled-up textbook against my head, yet he patiently corrected my pronunciation, word by word. He looked like he was about to lose his mind, but seeing my noticeable progress day by day, I genuinely praised him. "You're truly the best, most amazing teacher in the world. To be able to teach someone with my brain, it's truly rare. So rare." Ethan still maintained his cold, unapproachable demeanor. "In my entire life, I've never begged anyone for anything. This is the one and only time I'll ask you, when you go out, please don't tell anyone that butchered French is something I taught you. It's too embarrassing." I just giggled, not taking it to heart at all. I could feel that the 2 siblings, despite their aloofness, didn't actually harbor any ill will towards me. In fact, they protected me in their own subtle ways. One time, Chloe overslept, and I, out of habit, brought her the breakfast I'd made. As I was wiping the blackboard, I overheard her desk mate ask, "Chloe, that breakfast looks delicious. Can I try a bite?" Chloe didn't even have to think. She immediately refused. "No. My sister made it for me. If you want to eat some, go tell your own sister to make it." Hearing that, I wiped the board with even more fervor, while secretly deciding I absolutely had to give them a proper thank you gift. But no matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't figure out what to get. Just then, Brittany found me. She pulled an exquisitely wrapped gift box from behind her back. "Can I bother you to give this gift to Ethan for me? It's his birthday soon. I want to give him." "Ethan's birthday?" I remembered that he and Chloe were fraternal twins. My heart immediately leaped with joy. Asterisk perfect. I can seize this opportunity asterisk so, I asked Brittany, "Brittany, do you know what Ethan and Chloe like?" Brittany seemed a little startled. You want to give Ethan a gift too? Do you really like him?" I stammered in fear, quickly waving my hands to deny it. But a strange look flickered across Brittany's face. She darted her eyes around, then leaned close to my ear and whispered, "I heard those 2 siblings like butterflies. Maybe you could give them butterfly specimens?" I recalled having coincidentally seen butterfly images as the phone wallpapers for both of them. It seemed her words weren't wrong. I just didn't expect that when I, holding 2 carefully chosen boxes of butterfly specimens, mustered up all my courage to give them the gifts. Ethan merely glanced at them, a clear expression of anger already etched on his face. "Sarah, who told you to bring this garbage?" He immediately threw one of the specimen boxes to the ground, stomping on it until it was utterly unrecognizable. Chloe's face also paled noticeably. She whispered something to Ethan. They both looked at me with incomprehensible eyes, then, without another word, they left the house. They didn't come back that entire night. I sat there, picking up the shattered fragments from the floor, my mood utterly bleak. I couldn't understand why everything had turned out this way. Troubles never come singly. The next day, after my clash with the Ethan and Chloe, my background was somehow exposed. It spread through the school at an alarming rate. The students' gazes were filled with sarcasm and contempt, identical to the look Mr. Davies had given me that first time we met. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug deep into my palms, a sharp, throbbing pain. I tried to tell myself I had to be stronger, but reality wouldn't let me deceive myself. The moment I stepped into the classroom, a bucket of water hanging above the door tilted, pouring directly onto my head. The icy water drenched me from head to toe, leaving me trembling uncontrollably. Brittany, who had once pretended to be my friend, now sat with a group of others, pointing and laughing without restraint. I couldn't understand. I found my voice and asked, "Brittany, we have no feud, no animosity. Why are you treating me like this?" She folded her arms across her chest, her eyes full of mockery. "I'll tell you the truth, Sarah. At first, I thought you had a crush on Ethan, and seeing how special the Caden siblings treated you, I was worried he might like you. So, I deliberately befriended you to mess with you." She let out a scoffing laugh. "I never imagined you were just a bastard child of the Caden family. What a waste of my worry." Then she looked me up and down, her voice growing more venomous. "But you really have some nerve, don't you? Showing your face at school, constantly clinging to those two. If it were me, I'd probably be sick to my stomach." Her two friends immediately burst into laughter. "Brittany, I just heard the teacher say Chloe and Ethan took half a month off school." Another friend chimed in, her voice full of glee. "I also just checked Chloe's social media account. Their IP address is already abroad. Don't you think those two were so disgusted by this trash that they had to go abroad to clear their heads? If they knew you were teaching this little peasant a lesson on their behalf, they'd definitely like you even more." Haha. I looked at their empty seats. Since they'd left home the previous night, they still hadn't returned. Mr. Davies hadn't bothered to answer me, simply saying he didn't know. Later, I would learn that they had left to visit their mother in another country. Or rather, to visit their mother's grave. Brittany leaned down to provoke me. "Sarah, I deliberately wanted to make Ethan hate you. But if you want to blame someone, blame yourself. So naive, so gullible. You really are just some country bumpkin who walked in from nowhere." I smiled, then lunged forward and bit her. No matter how many people tried to pull me off, I wouldn't let go. I almost tore her flesh. She shrieked hysterically, swearing she would make me pay. I was reprimanded by the school. They said they would contact my legal guardian. To be honest, I had held a small glimmer of hope, wishing that this opportunity might allow me to finally meet my legendary biological father. But dreams remained just dreams. He didn't care at all, and there was no way he would ever come to school for me. Knowing I had no one to back me up, Brittany became even more brazen. She hid my homework, drew obscene pictures on my desk, and put disgusting things in my drawer. During class, she would curse at me using language I couldn't understand. Even during gym class, she would secretly pick the lock on my locker and steal my clothes. Every day, she would come up with a new way to torment me. Those days dragged on for half a month, but I was like a punching bag, letting her hit and kick me however she wanted. What worried me now was the current situation of Chloe and Ethan. Finally, the Caden siblings returned. They appeared in class unexpectedly, but I knew neither of them would speak to me. After school, Brittany cornered me in the classroom. She poured an entire bottle of ink into my cup of water. Her voice was deliberately sweet. "Sarah, it's hot today. You should drink plenty of water. Look what a nice, refreshing drink I've thoughtfully prepared for you." Around her, two other girls were ready to move in and restrain me. Just then, Chloe's silhouette appeared in front of me, followed immediately by a resounding slap. Brittany stood frozen, clutching her face, her eyes wide with panic. "Chloe, isn't she your half-sister? Why would you?" Chloe subtly flexed her wrist. "So, you know, do you?" She slightly lifted her chin, her long, phoenix eyes narrowed into cold slits. Then you really have some guts. You know she's my sister, and you still dared to bully her. Immediately after, Ethan's cold gaze swept over the cup of water, then settled on Brittany's face. Drink it. Brittany's eyes widened, her voice trembling. What? What did you say? Ethan simply pointed at the cup of ink in front of me, his voice as nonchalant as if discussing the weather. Whatever you poured in there, drink it all. Don't leave a single drop. Brittany's face turned stark white, her lips quivering uncontrollably. No, Ethan, I was just playing a joke. A joke? Ethan's lips curled into a smile, but it was a chilling, unnerving one. My sister is something you get to joke with? He leaned in slightly, his imposing presence making it almost impossible for her to breathe. Now even any stray dog dares to bully someone from the Caden family? His voice dropped, becoming gravely serious. I'll say it one last time. Drink it all. Or do you want me to have someone help you? Finally, Brittany burst into tears, trembling as she picked up the cup and drank it dry. But as soon as she swallowed, she immediately retched and vomited, ink splattering everywhere on the floor. She was crying and sobbing, her two best friends having vanished at some point. Chloe pulled me back a few steps, quietly saying, "Be careful, don't get dirty." Earlier, during the commotion, my elbow had slammed hard against the edge of a desk, leaving it numb with pain. Back at the house, Chloe bowed her head, using a cotton swab to apply antiseptic to the bruise, her voice even. Brittany hasn't just been bullying you today, has she? I obediently nodded. No. Beside us, Ethan, who had been resting with his eyes closed, let out an incomprehensible grunt, his eyes still shut. Chloe's hand paused. She looked up at me, her brow slightly furrowed. Then why didn't you call us? Although her voice held a hint of annoyance, if you listened closely, there seemed to be a subtle, almost imperceptible concern hidden beneath. I remembered. Open book, Dang Dyke Fan 3/4, 2502. That misunderstanding. Remembering the cold glare they'd given me when we first met, I softly said, I was afraid of bothering you too. Ethan's eyes snapped open, his voice sharp with anger. Lily, is your head full of straw? He took a deep breath, reining in his fury, each word coming out firm and clear. Let me tell you something right now, we are very. Chloe picked up where he left off, her voice quiet but fiercely protective of her family. Ethan nodded. Exactly. We can't stand it when someone in our family gets bullied, not even a little bit. Got it? My heart trembled. Family? They considered me family. My nose stung, and I almost cried. Back when I was living in the countryside, whenever I was bullied, my own mother never stood up for me. She would just tell me to be good, to be obedient, not to cause trouble. But now, Chloe was telling me that if anyone made me uncomfortable, I could slap them right in the face. And they would stand by me. I lowered my head. I'm sorry, I really didn't know that day. Chloe scooted closer and spoke softly. We weren't very good that day either. We left before we could explain. I'm sorry, Lily. You got the short end of the stick. To be honest, we weren't even going to tell you about it. We were afraid you'd overthink things. She took a deep breath, then slowly continued. When our mother was alive, she loved butterflies. The day she died, she was still clutching a sketchbook filled with butterfly drawings, a gift from our father back when they were young, a symbol of their early love. She cherished it for decades, even though it wasn't worth much. Her voice caught in her throat. Our mother knew Dad had a child with another woman, but she couldn't bring herself to divorce him. Eventually, she developed a mental illness and passed away. When she died, the man she loved most was away on a business trip, and he didn't even bother to come back to see her one last time. I finally understood why their expressions had changed so drastically that day when they saw the butterfly specimen. Thinking about it, my heart ached even more. Chloe seemed to see my remorse. She gently pulled me into a hug. Lily, it has nothing to do with you, so don't blame yourself anymore. I was so overwhelmed that I started to sniffle, realizing just how warm a sister's embrace could be. To investigate who was spreading rumors about me at school, Ethan immediately sent people to look into it. When the results came back, Chloe was shocked. It was Mr. Davies? It turned out that Tiffany had seen Mr. Davies picking me up and bribed him to dig up information. Already disliking me, he took the money and, embellishing everything, spilled all the details. Knowing the truth, Ethan immediately ordered Mr. Davies to be fired. Mr. Davies tried to argue. "Young master, without Mr. Callahan's permission, you can't fire me." Ethan directly called our father. It was the first time I'd ever heard my biological father's voice, cold as ice, devoid of any emotion. "I give my permission. Is that clear?" He hung up. Ethan turned to me and asked, "Have you met Mr. Callahan yet?" I was stunned. "That's our father's name," Chloe added. I shook my head. No. They didn't say anything more. Before I came to live with the Callahans, I'd always thought that Ethan and Chloe must have been very close to their father. But it was only then that I realized their detachment from him seemed to be no different from my own. A few days later, the landline in the house suddenly rang. I was sitting on the sofa, contentedly eating a piece of cake. The sweetness made me squint my eyes in pleasure. With my left hand, I picked up the receiver, my mouth still full. "Who is this?" "It's me." At first, I didn't recognize Mr. Callahan's voice. Ethan immediately walked over and snatched the phone from my hand. Mr. Callahan said only one sentence, "Tonight at 8 p.m., I'm sending the driver to pick you up. We're attending an important party." Then he hung up. I looked at Ethan, then at Chloe. Their expressions were calm, as if their father's cold attitude didn't bother them in the slightest. Chloe beckoned me to follow her. In the changing room, for once, Chloe didn't focus on herself. Instead, she gently pushed me to sit down at the dressing table. She picked up an eyebrow pencil and an eyeshadow palette. Her movements refined and ladylike, yet incredibly serious. "Head up, eyes closed. Don't move," she murmured, her lips slightly pursed, as she meticulously applied my makeup. In the mirror, her lips were a little pouty, her gaze intensely focused. That image softened my heart. I suddenly remembered my own mother. When I was little, every time I saw her doing her makeup in the mirror, I would tug on her arm and beg, "Mommy, do mine too." She would pat my head and gently say, "My sweet Lily, when you're older, I'll teach you." Sadly, when I did get older, she was no longer able to teach me. She would spend her days locked in her room, crying, only ever asking me, "Lily, do you think he'll come for me?" He said he'd never forget me. He clearly loved me. I blinked, trying to chase away the painful memories. Chloe asked, "Do you like this style of makeup?" "If you don't, I'll fix it until you do." "It's beautiful, no need to change it." Before I could even finish saying, "Thank you," Ethan, who had been leaning against the doorframe, let out a soft laugh. "Are you a robot? Lily, you say thank you all the time. It's getting broken." I didn't know what to say. Chloe adjusted my head. "Don't talk. You're messing up my work." I obediently sat up straight. "Okay." After a long moment, she finally let go and handed me the mirror. Looking at my reflection, I couldn't help but smile. "Oh my God, can I really look this good?" Chloe patted my shoulder lightly, then turned to Ethan. "Go on, bow to the princess." He didn't say anything, of course, but he did walk over, bending down quite naturally to adjust the hem of my dress. "Let's go, it's time." On the way, I couldn't resist asking, "Do you two know what kind of party it is tonight?" Ethan, adjusting his cuff, replied casually, "The old man is making such a big deal, he probably wants to announce your identity." He glanced at me. After all, the Callahan family's second daughter can't be hidden forever. Chloe put down her lipstick and nodded in agreement, but an uneasy feeling began to stir within me. Instinctively, I knew he wouldn't be throwing such a grand party just for me. And I was right. On the surface, the party was a welcome home celebration for me. but as we walked in, we saw Mr. Callahan standing next to a sophisticated, unfamiliar couple. Their eyes were constantly scrutinizing Chloe. Everyone immediately understood that this party was, in reality, a transaction of interests. Mr. Callahan smiled widely, introducing Chloe to Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. My Chloe has always been a well-behaved child, and she has extraordinary artistic talent. If she were to pair with your son, they would truly be a perfect match, a gifted boy and a beautiful girl, a match made in heaven. And our families would become even closer. The calculating gaze of the Petersons made Chloe visibly uncomfortable. I pretended to be naive, stepping in front of her, swaying back and forth, deliberately blocking their view. Mr. Callahan frowned, clearly displeased, but he didn't erupt in anger. There was something more important on his mind. He signaled to an assistant. "Ah, yes, Mr. and Mrs. Peterson, I know you both enjoy collecting art. I've specifically brought this painting for you to enjoy, as a small token of my sincerity." The assistant immediately opened the prepared art box. Inside was an oil painting with warm tones and soft brushstrokes. In the painting, a little girl in a white dress lay on the grass amidst a field of white daisies in spring. Her delicate features vaguely resembled Chloe's as a child. Chloe's face instantly turned ashen. She almost screamed, lunging forward to snatch the painting from the assistant's hands. "No! You can't give this painting away." She clutched the painting tightly to her chest, her entire body trembling violently, her reddened eyes filled with an unspeakable pain and indignation. I had never seen her lose control like that. That painting must have been incredibly important. Mr. Callahan's smile froze, then darkened into a scowl. "Chloe, what in the world are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Give the painting back to Mr. Peterson, now." Ethan lunged, positioning himself in front of us. His face was pale, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. "This painting cannot be given away. It's the only thing Mom left for Chloe." Smack, a harsh slap landed across his face, so powerful it sent his head snapping to one side, the imprint of a hand starkly red on his cheek. Mr. Callahan roared, "Ethan, is this my business, or yours? Are you defying me?" He turned to his guests, forcing a fake smile. "Oh dear, my apologies, Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. My unruly son and stubborn daughter are making a spectacle for you." Then he commanded, "Chloe, apologize to Mr. and Mrs. Peterson immediately. And hand over that painting." Chloe bit her lip, tears streaming down her face, her voice trembling but firm. "Never." She clutched the painting even tighter, her knuckles white. The Petersons exchanged glances, their eyes filled with disdain. Mrs. Peterson spoke in a cold voice. "It seems your daughter is not pleased with our family, Mr. Callahan. Perhaps we should reconsider this engagement." With that, they turned and left. Who the Petersons wanted to ally with was not something to be decided on a whim. Today, Ethan and Chloe had thoroughly disgraced Mr. Callahan, and his face was utterly grim. For the first time, his gaze settled on me. "Lily, your performance has deeply disappointed me." The party ended in a suffocating atmosphere. Ethan and I were roughly shoved into a car by Mr. Callahan's bodyguards and driven straight back to the old Callahan estate, where we were locked in an abandoned storage room. The space was small, narrow, windowless, damp, and cold. The smell of mildew was overwhelming. I was used to places like this, but I worried Ethan wouldn't be able to handle it. What surprised me, though, was how strangely calm he seemed. He sat in a corner, his eyes empty, not speaking a word. I sat down beside him and softly asked, "Chloe, they took her away separately. What will happen to her?" In the darkness, Ethan let out a barely audible sigh. I couldn't clearly see his face, but I could feel the profound heaviness and despair in his eyes. He remained silent for a very long time, so long that I thought he wouldn't answer me. Finally, his voice came out hoarse and strained, each word seemingly trapped between his teeth. "What will happen? What else can happen? Just another round of being tamed." He let out a soft laugh, a cold sound filled with bitterness and hatred. Chloe and I have lived like this our whole lives, from childhood. We know he doesn't want obedient children. He only wants perfect, compliant creations. Chloe likes to paint? Fine, but only if those paintings can win awards, only if they can bring him prestige. And me? When he found out I was passionate about game programming, he flew into a rage. He said it was useless, that it dulled ambition, that it was a disgrace to a Callahan heir. He paused for a moment, his voice dropping to an icy, bone-chilling whisper. Chloe was once locked in her studio for 3 days and 3 nights, just for secretly drawing a comic she liked. And my first game demo? He deleted everything and then smashed my computer right in front of me. His eyes darkened. Do you know why I'm so obsessed with VR games? Because I want to create a game where Chloe and I can meet our mother again. We truly hate him. My heart sank, heavy as if plummeting into a deep, frozen abyss. So, beneath the glittering, cold exterior of this powerful family lay such terrifying wounds and shackles. Several days later, we were released. The first thing we did was search for Chloe. But her room door was locked, and no matter how many times we knocked, she didn't answer. When she finally reappeared, it was a month later. Her face. Open book, Dang Dyke Fan 4/4, 1956-2. She was deathly pale, her cheeks hollowed, so thin she barely looked human. I held her tight, my heart aching as I asked, Vanessa, what in the world happened? She bit her lip, remaining silent. Finally, one of the housemaids secretly told us what happened. She was trembling as she whispered, Mr. Harrison didn't want Miss Vanessa to paint anymore, so he broke her right hand. The doctor had said her wrist joint was severely damaged, and it was unlikely she'd ever be able to create the intricate, precise artwork she was known for again. I brought her a meal, only to see her unable to even hold a pen. I clamped a hand over my mouth, turning my back, my whole body shaking with pain and a simmering, hateful rage. It felt like only yesterday she was the most vibrant, beautiful flower I'd ever seen. Now, after one terrible storm, those petals had been utterly crushed and scattered. That's when Caleb stepped up behind me, gently pushing a strand of hair from my ear with his left hand. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. It's okay, Rainey. What do we have to do to help Vanessa? Do you truly want to help her? His voice was so weak, it squeezed my heart. Yes, I replied, my voice firm. Caleb nodded slowly. Then from this moment on, Rainey, you have to become strong. You have to be the shield that protects us. He paused, then his voice hardened slightly. That old man, Mr. Harrison, he secretly seized all the shares our mother left for us. He doesn't trust us anymore. To stop him from bringing in some puppet to control the company later, you have to rise up. You have to earn his trust. I clenched my fists, a burning question forming in my mind. What should I do? From that day forward, Vanessa and Caleb began my comprehensive training. They taught me everything they knew about survival, how to hide my true self, and how to strike back in the ruthless world Mr. Harrison had created. Caleb gave a faint, cynical smirk. Before, he explained, I merely disdained the act of flattery and self-restraint. It wasn't that I didn't know how to do it. I nodded, slowly soaking up everything like a thirsty sponge. When you have the right motivation and a clear, well-hidden plan, accomplishing anything becomes so much easier. My French quickly became as fluent as my native tongue, and I systematically mastered other languages crucial for the business world. My friends saw a change in me, they felt it, but beyond my incessant studying, they couldn't quite articulate how I was different. 2 years passed, a significant period of relentless effort. My academic and professional achievements soared. My appearance also refined, becoming more polished. Finally, Mr. Harrison began to take notice. After graduation, he arranged for me to intern at the Harrison Group. I adopted Vanessa's calm, composed demeanor, mimicked Caleb's cold, decisive resolve, and all the while, I meticulously memorized every trick, every manipulative tactic Mr. Harrison employed. The three of us, in silent concert, moved one step at a time, enduring each day, patiently waiting for our moment. Another 4 years bled into the past. Then, during a high-stakes international acquisition, I finally unveiled my true capabilities. My sharpness and cold, calculating precision made everyone wary, even fearful. I successfully outmaneuvered and utterly defeated Mr. Harrison's most trusted assistant, a man he had groomed for years. After the deal concluded, Mr. Harrison summoned me to his office. He sat in his imposing leather chair, his fingers drumming a slow, deliberate rhythm on the polished red mahogany desk. For the first time, he looked at me with genuine recognition. "Rainey," he began, "you did exceptionally well. Far better than I ever anticipated." He paused, his gaze seeming to pierce right through me, looking back at some distant, fabricated past. His voice was laced with a sickly sweet, feigned nostalgia. "I wonder if your mother ever spoke of me. If not for such a cruel twist of fate, perhaps we could have been a normal, happy family." I offered him a docile smile, listening in silence. A normal, happy family? The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. I had never forgotten the vacant stare in my mother's eyes when she jumped from that window. I hadn't forgotten the trembling fear of my first days in the Harrison mansion, nor Vanessa's shattered hand, nor the whip mark scarring Caleb's back. The tender affection he feigned now was nothing more than the cold satisfaction of a player who had found a valuable, obedient pawn. "Father, you flatter me too much," I said, inclining my head slightly. My tone was neither humble nor overtly fawning, carefully calibrated. "It's only because of your excellent guidance and cultivation. Thank you for nurturing me. I assure you, I will repay you fittingly in due time." He was utterly pleased, nodding repeatedly, murmuring "Good, good." I turned my back and left his office, my composure unwavering. Mr. Harrison's body, ravaged by years of living under immense pressure and decadent luxury, coupled with the countless indulgent habits I had subtly cultivated within him, finally gave out. A stroke, seemingly ordinary, became my perfect opportunity to completely seize control of the Harrison Group. I immediately invested $5 billion into Caleb's game development team. The board of directors erupted in outrage. $5 billion for a game? An old man with a bristling white beard demanded, shaking with fury. "Miss Song, have you lost your mind? The Harrison Group's money doesn't just fall from the sky. Caleb's little project is a bottomless pit. You are toying with the shareholders' interests." A cacophony of whispers erupted through the hall, unable to be suppressed. What was Mr. Harrison thinking? Handing the company over to a stepchild? But there was nothing they could do. At this point, only I possessed the full capability to steady and command the Harrison empire. I had inherited all of Mr. Harrison's cunning, and in many ways, I surpassed him. He knew how to plot and scheme, but he never understood how to truly win people's hearts. The company's core, filled with brilliant young talents who had long been suppressed by these old foxes, had already pledged their allegiance to me. Eventually, all those who opposed me either resigned or were systematically forced out. What remained were only those who bowed in silent, complete submission. Some, believing a profound father-daughter bond existed between Mr. Harrison and me, attempted to curry favor, bringing lavish gifts and feigning concern. "Miss Song," one sycophant purred, "how is Director Harrison's health these days?" I glanced at my watch, a gentle smile playing on my lips. "Oh, he's doing very well," I replied. It was 2 p.m. My beloved father, at that very moment, was undoubtedly in a therapy room, undergoing a series of electroshock treatments to combat his rapidly deteriorating dementia. 8 arduous years later, Caleb's VR game finally launched to overwhelming success. Within that meticulously crafted virtual world, I encountered their mother. Her eyes were an exact replica of Vanessa's, yet her gaze was infinitely softer, warmer, completely unlike my own mother's vacant stare. She exuded a gentle kindness, brimming with an overflowing love for her children. As I prepared to log out of the game, her ethereal form appeared before me, smiling. "Thank you, Rainey," she whispered. "Thank you for becoming family to those 2 lonely children." I froze, just for a breath, blinked, and the apparition dissolved into nothingness. It had been so long. Since the day I forced myself into an unbreakable sobriety, not just to protect myself, but to protect Caleb and Vanessa, I hadn't felt the urge to cry like this. Not until now. I turned to Caleb, my voice a little unsteady. Was that a special feature you added? He shook his head, a flicker of genuine confusion in his eyes. No, he said, then looked at me suspiciously. Rainey, you're not trying to make up stories to cheer us up, are you? It's okay, really. We accepted the truth a long time ago. It doesn't hurt anymore. I managed a small, wry smile, skillfully changing the subject. Perhaps it was just my imagination, I murmured. Many years later, I was suddenly seized by an inexplicable urge to visit Mr. Harrison. He was an old man now, his hair a shock of white, his once imposing figure diminished and stooped. The moment he saw me, his eyes blazed with a manic fury. He reached a trembling hand through the bars of his room, attempting to strike me. If I'd known it would come to this, he shrieked, I would have left you on the streets. Rainy song, you will face your retribution. I simply raised an eyebrow, turning to the attendant beside me. It seems my father's condition has deteriorated significantly, I observed calmly. Perhaps you should consider a slightly more intensive therapy. The attendants understood perfectly, immediately stuffing a rag into his frothing mouth. I remembered a story from many years prior. When I first joined the company, Mr. Harrison had seen my potential. But he was still younger then, eager for an heir, yet terrified I might someday surpass him. So he'd had someone drug and humiliate me, planning to gather dark leverage. If I ever dared to betray him, he'd have something to destroy me with. That day, if Caleb hadn't arrived to save me, I would have been utterly and irrevocably lost. It was much later that I finally unearthed the true orchestrator behind that heinous act. From that moment, I carefully dulled my sharp edges, silently setting my traps, waiting for Mr. Harrison's inevitable downfall. Every step was taken with meticulous caution, ensuring my thirst for vengeance would never blind me. Stepping out of the sterile retirement home, the afternoon sun, though bright, wasn't yet strong enough to make me squint. I lifted my head, shielding my eyes, and stared at my outstretched palm. What will my retribution be? I wondered aloud. Wealth? Or perhaps, my very life? Just then, my phone rang. It was Vanessa. Her voice trembled with joy, almost a sob. Rainey, the doctor you recommended, he said my hand can be surgically restored. He thinks that, at most, within 3 years, it could be as flexible as it was before. I immediately got into my car, starting the engine. I'll be right there, I told her, my own voice thick with emotion. Wait for me. Just as I ended that call, my phone rang again. This time, it was Caleb. He wasted no time. The moment I answered, he said, "Thank you, Rainey." I fell silent for a beat, then burst out laughing, a genuine, joyful sound I hadn't made in years. "Are you a robot, Caleb?" I teased, still laughing. "You're always saying, thank you, thank you. It's so silly." Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. I deeply appreciate your comments, feedback, and thoughts. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. I'll see you in the next story.